The laws of cricket. The preamble. The spirit of cricket. Cricket is a game that owes much of its unique appeal to the fact that it should be played not only within its laws, but also within the spirit of the game. Any action which is seen to abuse this spirit of fair play rests with the captains. 1. There are two laws which place the responsibility of the team's conduct firmly on the captain. Responsibility of captains. The captains are responsible at all times for ensuring that play is conducted within the spirit of the game as well as within the laws. Players' conduct. In the event of a player failing to comply with instructions by an umpire or criticizing by word or action the decisions of an umpire, or showing dissent, or generally behaving in a manner which might bring the game into disrepute, the umpire concerned shall in the first place report the matter to the other umpire and to the player's captain, and instruct the latter to take action. 2. Fair and unfair play. According to the laws, the umpires are the sole judges of fair and unfair play. The umpires may intervene at any time, and it is the responsibility of the captain to take action where required. 3. The umpires are authorized to intervene in cases of time wasting, damaging the pitch, dangerous and unfair bowling, tampering with the ball, any other action that they consider to be unfair. 4. The spirit of the game involves respect for your opponents, your own captain and team, the role of the umpires, the game's traditional values. 5. It is against the spirit of the game to dispute an umpire's decision by word, action, or gesture, to direct abusive language towards an opponent or umpire, to indulge in cheating or any sharp practice, for instance, to appeal knowing the batsman is not out, to advance towards an umpire in an aggressive manner when appealing, to seek to distract an opponent either verbally or by harassment with persistent clapping or unnecessary noise under the guise of enthusiasm and motivation of one's own side. 6. Violence. There is no place for any act of violence on the field of play. 7. Players. Captains and umpires together set the tone for the conduct of a cricket match. Every player is expected to make an important contribution to this.
Basic umpiring skills. This paper is to provide some basic skills and knowledge required for a game of cricket to proceed. It does not attempt to delve too deeply into the intricacies of the laws and deals with simple application only. There are matters such as duty of care, health and safety, and racial and religious vilification that are common to most aspects of daily life. The ideals established under the laws of the land should generally transfer to the cricket field. Responsibilities. Duty of care to all participants includes health and safety principles, hydration, sun and eye protection, protective equipment, helmets, pads, gloves, etc., basic first aid, reasonable risk management policies and procedures in relation to the condition of the pitch and ground, as well as weather and light conditions. Player match management. Fair go for all participants. Make the game fun and encourage active participation. Teach respect for each other and the umpire. Instill etiquette and common good manners in players. Do not accept any form of dissent, abuse, or sledging. Do not accept vilification in any form, racial or otherwise.
Some basic laws. The preamble. This sets the desired tone for acceptable behavior and stresses that the captain of the team is responsible for his players. Players are instructed to respect each other, the role of the umpires, and the game's traditional values.
There should be no unnecessary appealing, cheating or sharp practice, sledging or intimidation, and definitely no violence. The umpire's decision should be accepted without dissent. Law 1. The players. Reaffirms that the captain is responsible for the conduct of his players. Law 12. Start of play. Cessation of play. The umpire at the bowler's end shall call play to start the match and on resumption after any interruption or interval. The umpire at the bowler's end shall call time on the cessation of play prior to any interval or interruption or at the conclusion of the match. Law 16. The result. The umpires are responsible for the correctness of the score. This means that whenever you can ask the scorers to make sure that the scores add up and are correct. If you leave the field believing that a result has been reached and there has been a mistake in scoring, A. If you have either time or overs left, resume play until the runs are scored or the game finishes otherwise, unless one side concedes defeat. B. If time has been reached and no more overs or balls are available, make the necessary adjustment to the score and advise the captains of the amended result. Law 2. The umpires. 2.1. Appointment and attendance. Before the match, 2 umpires shall be appointed, one for each end, to control the match as required by the laws, with absolute impartiality. The umpires shall be present on the ground and report to the executive of the ground at least 45 minutes before the scheduled start of each day's play. 2.2. Change of umpire. An umpire shall not be changed during the match other than in exceptional circumstances, unless he/she is injured or ill. If there has to be a change of umpire, the replacement shall act only as the striker's end umpire, unless the captains agree that the replacement should take full responsibility as an umpire. 2.3. Consulting with captains. Before the toss, the umpires shall 2.3.1 meet with the captains. The umpires shall determine 2.3.1.1 the balls to be used during the match. See Law 4, the ball. 2.3.1.2 the hours of play and the times and durations of any agreed intervals. In a match of 1 day's duration, no specific time need be agreed for the tea interval. It may be agreed instead to take this interval between innings. See Law 11, intervals. 2.3.1.3 which clock or watch and backup timepiece is to be used during the match. 2.3.1.4 the boundary of the field of play and allowances for boundaries, including whether any obstacle within the field of play is to be regarded as a boundary. See Law 19, boundaries. 2.3.1.5 the use of covers. See Law 10, covering the pitch. 2.3.1.6 any special conditions of play affecting the conduct of the match. 2.3.2 inform the scorers of agreements in 2.3.1.2, 2.3.1.3, 2.3.1.4 and 2.3.1.6. 2.4 the wickets, creases and boundaries. Before the toss and during the match, the umpires shall satisfy themselves that 2.4.1 the wickets are properly pitched. See Law 8, the wickets. 2.4.2 the creases are correctly marked.
See Law 7, the creases. 2.4.3, the boundary of the field of play, complies with the requirements of Laws 19.1, determining the boundary of the field of play, 19.2, identifying and marking the boundary, and 19.3, restoring the boundary. 2.5, conduct of the match, implements and equipment. Before the toss and during the match, the umpires shall satisfy themselves that 2.5.1, the conduct of the match, is strictly in accordance with the laws. 2.5.2, the implements used in the match conform to the following. 2.5.2.1, Law 4, the ball. 2.5.2.2, externally visible requirements of Law 5, the bat, and Appendix B. 2.5.2.3, either Laws 8.2, size of stumps, and 8.3, the bails, or, if applicable, Law 8.4, junior cricket. 2.5.3, no player uses equipment other than that permitted. See Appendix A, 2. Note particularly therein the interpretation of protective helmet. 2.5.4, the wicket-keeper's gloves conform to the requirements of Law 27.2, gloves.
2.6. Fair and unfair play. The umpires shall be the sole judges of fair and unfair play. 2.7. Fitness for play. 2.7.1. It is solely for the umpires together to decide whether either conditions of ground, weather or light, or exceptional circumstances mean that it would be dangerous or unreasonable for play to take place. Conditions shall not be regarded as either dangerous or unreasonable merely because they are not ideal. The fact that the grass and the ball are wet does not warrant the ground conditions being regarded as unreasonable or dangerous. 2.7.2. Conditions shall be regarded as dangerous if there is actual and foreseeable risk to the safety of any player or umpire. 2.7.3. Conditions shall be regarded as unreasonable if, although posing no risk to safety, it would not be sensible for play to proceed. 2.7.4. If the umpires consider the ground is so wet or slippery as to deprive the bowler of a reasonable foothold, the fielders of the power of free movement, or the batter of the ability to play their strokes or to run between the wickets, then these conditions shall be regarded as so bad that it would be dangerous and unreasonable for play to take place. 2.8. Suspension of play in dangerous or unreasonable circumstances. 2.8.1. All references to ground include the pitch. See Law 6.1, area of pitch. 2.8.2. The umpires shall immediately suspend play or not allow play to start or to recommence if either umpire considers that the conditions of ground, weather or light or any other circumstances are either dangerous or unreasonable. When there is a suspension of play, it is the responsibility of the umpires to monitor conditions. They shall make inspections as often as appropriate, unaccompanied by any players or officials. Immediately the umpires together agree that the conditions are no longer dangerous or unreasonable, they shall call upon the players to resume play. 2.9. Position of umpires. The umpires shall stand where they can best see any act upon which their decision may be required.
Subject to this overriding consideration, the bowler's end umpire shall stand in a position so as not to interfere with either the bowler's run-up or the striker's view. The striker's end umpire may elect to stand on the off-side instead of the on-side of the pitch, provided he/she informs the captain of the fielding side, the striker and the other umpire. 2.12. Umpires changing ends. The umpires shall change ends after each side has had one completed innings. See Law 13.3, Completed Innings. 2.11. Disagreement and dispute. Where there is disagreement or dispute about any matter, the umpires together shall make the final decision. See also Law 31.6, Consultation by Umpires. 2.13. Umpire's decision. An umpire may alter any decision provided that such alteration is made promptly and does not contradict Law 20.6, dead ball not to be revoked. This apart, an umpire's decision, once made, is final. 2.13. Signals. 2.13.1. The following code of signals shall be used by umpires. 2.13.1.1. Signals made while the ball is in play. Dead ball by crossing and recrossing the wrists below the waist. No ball by extending one arm horizontally. Out by raising an index finger above the head. If not out, the umpire shall call not out. Wide by extending both arms horizontally. 2.13.1.2. When the ball is dead, the bowler's end umpire shall repeat the signals in 2.13.1.1 with the exception of the signal for out to the scorers. 2.13.1.3. The signals listed below shall be made to the scorers only when the ball is dead.
Boundary 4. By waving an arm from side to side, finishing with the arm across the chest. Boundary 6. By raising both arms above the head. By raising an open hand above the head. Commencement of last hour, by pointing to a raised wrist with the other hand. 5 penalty runs awarded to the batting side, by repeated tapping of one shoulder with the opposite hand. 5 penalty runs awarded to the fielding side, by placing one hand on the opposite shoulder. Leg by touching a raised knee with the hand. New ball, by holding the ball above the head. Revoke the last decision, by touching both shoulders, each with the opposite hand. Short run, by bending one arm upwards and touching the nearer shoulder with the tips of the fingers. The following signals are for levels 3 and 4 of the player conduct offences. Each signal has 2 parts, both of which should be acknowledged separately by the scorers. Level 3 conduct. Part 1, by putting one arm out to the side of the body and repeatedly raising it and lowering it. Part 2, by raising both hands, all fingers spread, to shoulder height, palms facing towards the scorers. Level 4 conduct. Part 1, by putting one arm out to the side of the body and repeatedly raising it and lowering it. Part 2, by raising an index finger held at shoulder height to the side of the body. 2.13.1.4. All the signals in 2.13.1.3 are to be made by the bowler's end umpire, except that for short run,
which is to be signalled by the umpire at the end where short running occurs. However, the bowler's end umpire shall be responsible both for the final signal of short run to the scorers and, if more than one run is short, for informing them as to the number of runs to be recorded. 2.13.2. The umpire shall wait until each signal to the scorers has separately been acknowledged by a scorer before allowing play to proceed. If several signals are to be used, they shall be given in the order that the events occurred. 2.14. Informing the umpires. Throughout the laws, wherever the umpires are to receive information from captains or other players, it will be sufficient for one umpire to be so informed and for him to inform the other umpire. 2.15. Correctness of scores. Consultation between umpires and scorers on doubtful points is essential. The umpires shall throughout the match satisfy themselves as to the correctness of the number of runs scored, the wickets that have fallen, and, where appropriate, the number of overs bowled. They shall agree these with the scorers at least at every interval, other than a drinks interval, and at the conclusion of the match.
Law 3. The Scorers. 3.1. Appointment of Scorers. 2 scorers shall be appointed to record all runs scored, all wickets taken, and, where appropriate, number of overs bowled. 3.2. Correctness of scores. The scorers shall frequently check to ensure that their records agree. They shall agree with the umpires at least at every interval other than drinks intervals, and at the conclusion of the match, the runs scored, the wickets that have fallen, and, where appropriate, the number of overs bowled. See Law 2.15, Correctness of Scores. 3.3. Acknowledging signals. The scorers shall accept all instructions and signals given to them by the umpires and shall immediately acknowledge each separate signal.
Law 4. The Ball. 4.1. Weight and size. The ball, when new, shall weigh not less than 5.5 ounces, 155.9 grams, nor more than 5.75 ounces, 163 grams, and shall measure not less than 8.81 inches, 22.4 centimeters, nor more than 9 inches, 22.9 centimeters, in circumference. 4.2. Approval and control of balls. 4.2.1. All balls to be used in the match, having been determined by the umpires, shall be in the possession of the umpires before the toss, and shall remain under their control throughout the match. 4.2.2. The umpire shall take possession of the ball in use at the fall of each wicket, at the start of any interval, and at any interruption of play. 4.3. New ball. Unless an agreement to the contrary has been made before the match, either captain may demand a new ball at the start of each innings. 4.4. New ball in a match of more than 1 day's duration. In a match of more than 1 day's duration, the captain of the fielding side may demand a new ball when the number of overs, excluding any part overs, bowled with the old one is equal to or greater than 80 overs. The umpire shall inform the other umpire and indicate to the batters and the scorers whenever a new ball is taken into play. Ball lost or becoming unfit for play. If, during play, the ball cannot be found or recovered, or the umpires agree that it has become unfit for play through normal use, the umpires shall replace it with a ball which has had wear comparable with that which the previous ball had received before the need for its replacement. When the ball is replaced, the umpire shall inform the batters and the fielding captain. Specifications. The specifications as described in 4.1 shall apply to men's cricket only. The following specifications shall apply to women's cricket. Weight from 4.94 ounces, 140 grams, to 5.31 ounces, 151 grams. Circumference from 8.25 inches, 21.0 centimeters, to 8.88 inches, 22.5 centimeters. 4.6.2 Junior Cricket, under 13. Weight from 4.69 ounces, 133 grams, to 5.06 ounces, 144 grams. Circumference from 8.06 inches, 20.5 centimeters, to 8.69 inches, 22.0 centimeters.
Law 5. The bat. 5.1. The bat. 5.1.1. The bat consists of two parts, a handle and a blade. 5.1.2. The basic requirements and measurements of the bat are set out in this law with detailed specifications in Appendix B. 5.2. The handle. 5.2.1. The handle is to be made principally of cane and/or wood. 5.2.2. The part of the handle that is wholly outside the blade is defined to be the upper portion of the handle. It is a straight shaft for holding the bat. 5.2.3. The upper portion of the handle may be covered with a grip as defined in Appendix 2.2.2. 5.3. The blade. 5.3.1. The blade comprises the whole of the bat apart from the handle as defined in 5.2 and in Appendix B.3. 5.3.2. The blade shall consist solely of wood. 5.3.3. All bats may have commercial identifications on the blade, the size of which must comply with the relevant specification in Appendix B.6. 5.4. Protection and repair. Subject to the specifications in 5.4 and providing 5.5 is not contravened, 5.4.1 solely for the purposes of either protection from surface damage to the face, sides and shoulders of the blade, or repair to the blade after surface damage, material that is not rigid either at the time of its application to the blade or subsequently may be placed on these surfaces. 5.4.2. For repair of the blade after damage other than surface damage, 5.4.2.1. Solid material may be inserted into the blade. 5.4.2.2. The only material permitted for any insertion is wood with minimal essential adhesives. 5.4.3. To prevent damage to the toe, material may be placed on that part of the blade, but shall not extend over any part of the face, back, or sides of the blade. 5.5. Damage to the ball. 5.5.1. For any part of the bat, covered or uncovered, the hardness of the constituent materials and the surface texture thereof shall be not such that either or both could cause unacceptable damage to the ball.
5.5.2. Any part of the bat, covered or uncovered, for whatever purpose, shall similarly not be such that it could cause unacceptable damage to the ball. 5.5.3. For the purpose of this law, unacceptable damage is any change that is greater than normal wear and tear caused by the ball striking the uncovered wooden surface of the blade. 5.6. Contact with the ball. In these laws, 5.6.1, reference to the bat shall imply that the bat is held in the batter's hand or a glove worn on his hand unless stated otherwise. 5.6.2. Contact between the ball and any of 5.6.2.1, the bat itself, 5.6.2.2, the batter's hand holding the bat, 5.6.2.3, any part of a glove worn on the batter's hand holding the bat, 5.6.2.4, any additional materials permitted under 5.4 shall be regarded as the ball striking or touching the bat or being struck by the bat. 5.7. Bat size limits. 5.7.1. The overall length of the bat when the lower portion of the handle is inserted shall not be more than 38 inches, 96.52 centimeters. 5.7.2. The blade of the bat shall not exceed the following dimensions: width 4.25 inches, 10.8 centimeters, depth 2.64 inches, 6.7 centimeters, edges 1.56 inches, 4.0 centimeters. Furthermore, it should also be able to pass through a bat gauge as described in Appendix B.8. 5.7.3. Except for bats of size 6 and less, the handle shall not exceed 52% of the overall length of the bat. 5.7.4. The material permitted for covering the blade in 5.4.1 shall not exceed 0.04 inches, 1.0 millimeters in thickness. 5.7.5. The maximum permitted thickness of protective material placed on the toe of the blade is 0.12 inches, 3.0 millimeters. 5.8. Categories of bat. 5.8.1. Types A, B, and C are bats conforming to 5.1 through 5.7 inclusive. 5.8.2. Types A bats may be used at any level of cricket. 5.8.3. The specifications for Type D bats are described in Appendix B.7 and are for use by junior players in junior cricket only. 5.8.4. Bats of Type B, Type C, Type D, and any other bats may be used only at or below levels determined by the governing body for cricket in the country concerned. 5.8.5. Bats that do not qualify for any of the 4 categories A through D are not recognized in the laws.
Law 6. The pitch. 6.1. Area of the pitch. The pitch is a rectangular area of the ground 22 yards or 20.12 meters in length and 10 feet or 3.05 meters in width. It is bounded at either end by the bowling creases and on either side by imaginary lines, one each side of the imaginary line joining the centers of the 2 middle stumps, each parallel to it and 5 feet or 1.52 meters from it.
If the pitch is next to an artificial pitch which is closer than 5 feet or 1.52 meters from the middle stumps, the pitch on that side will extend only to the junction of the two surfaces. See Laws 8.1, Description, Width and Pitching, 8.4, Junior Cricket, and 7.2, the Bowling Crease. 6.2, Fitness of pitch for play. The umpires shall be the sole judges of the fitness of the pitch for play. See Laws 2.7, Fitness for play, and 2.8, Suspension of play in dangerous or unreasonable conditions. 6.3, Selection and preparation. Before the match, the ground authority shall be responsible for the selection and preparation of the pitch. During the match, the umpire shall control its use and maintenance. 6.4, Changing the pitch. The pitch shall not be changed during the match unless the umpires decide that it is dangerous or unreasonable for play to continue on it, and then only with the consent of both captains. See Laws 2.7, Fitness for play, and 2.8, Suspension of play in dangerous or unreasonable conditions. 6.5, Non-turf pitches. In the event of a non-turf pitch being used, the artificial surface shall conform to the following measurements: length, a minimum of 58 feet or 17.68 meters, width, a minimum of 6 feet or 1.83 meters. See Law 9.8, Non-turf pitches. 6.6, Junior Cricket. The governing body for cricket in the country concerned shall determine the length of the pitch for junior cricket.
Law 7. The creases. 7.1. The creases. The positions of a bowling crease, a popping crease, and 2 return creases shall be marked with white lines, as set out in 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4, at each end of the pitch. See Appendix C. 7.2. The bowling crease. The bowling crease, which is the back edge of the crease marking, is the line that marks the end of the pitch, as in Law 6.1, Area of pitch. It shall be 8 feet 8 inches, 2.64 meters in length. 7.3. The popping crease. The popping crease, which is the back edge of the crease marking, shall be in front of and parallel to the bowling crease, and shall be 4 feet 1.22 meters from it. The popping crease shall be marked to a minimum of 6 feet 1.83 meters on either side of the imaginary line joining the centers of the 2 middle stumps, and shall be considered to be unlimited in length. 7.4. The return creases. The return creases, which are the inside edges of the crease markings, shall be at right angles to the popping crease, at a distance of 4 feet 4 inches, 1.32 meters, either side of the imaginary line joining the centers of the 2 middle stumps. Each return crease shall be marked from the popping crease to a minimum of 8 feet, 2.44 meters, behind it, and shall be considered to be unlimited in length.
Law 8. The wickets. 8.1. Description, width and pitching. 2 sets of wickets shall be pitched opposite and parallel to each other in the centers of the bowling creases. Each set shall be 9 inches, 22.86 centimeters, wide, and shall consist of 3 wooden stumps with 2 wooden bails on top. See Appendix D. 8.2. Size of stumps. The tops of the stumps shall be 28 inches, 71.12 centimeters, above the playing surface, and shall be dome-shaped, except for the bail grooves. The portion of a stump above the playing surface shall be cylindrical, apart from the domed top,
with circular section of diameter not less than 1.38 inches, 3.50 centimeters, nor more than 1.5 inches, 3.81 centimeters. See Appendix D. 8.3. The bails. 8.3.1. The bails, when in position on top of the stumps, shall not project more than 0.5 inches, 1.27 centimeters above them, shall fit between the stumps without forcing them out of the vertical. 8.3.2. Each bail shall conform to the following specifications. See Appendix D. Overall length 4.31 inches, 10.95 centimeters. Length of the barrel 2.13 inches, 5.40 centimeters. Longer spigot 1.38 inches, 3.50 centimeters. Shorter spigot 0.81 inches, 2.06 centimeters. The two spigots and the barrel shall have the same center line. Devices aimed at protecting player safety by limiting the distance that a bail can travel off the stumps will be allowed, subject to the approval of the governing body for the match and the ground authority. 8.4. Junior cricket. The governing body for cricket in the concerned country shall determine the dimensions of the stumps and bails. 8.5. Dispensing with bails. The umpires may agree to dispense with the use of bails if necessary. If they so agree, then no bails shall be used at either end. The use of bails shall be resumed as soon as conditions permit. See Law 29.5, Dispensing with Bails.
Law 9. Preparation and maintenance of the playing area. 9.1. Rolling. The pitch shall not be rolled during the match except as permitted in 9.1.1 and 9.1.2. 9.1.1. Frequency and duration of rolling. During the match, the pitch may be rolled at the request of the captain of the batting side for a period of not more than 7 minutes before the start of each innings other than the first innings of the match and before the start of each subsequent day's play. See 9.1.4. 9.1.2. Rolling after a delayed start. In addition to the rolling permitted above, if after the toss and before the first innings of the match the start is delayed, the captain of the batting side may request that the pitch be rolled for not more than 7 minutes. However, if the umpires together agree that the delay had had no significant effect on the state of the pitch, they shall refuse such request for rolling of the pitch. 9.1.3. Choice of rollers. If there is more than one roller available, the captain of the batting side shall choose which one is to be used. 9.1.4. Timing of permitted rolling. The rolling permitted, maximum 7 minutes, before play begins on any day shall be started not later than 30 minutes before the time scheduled or rescheduled for play to begin on that day. The captain of the batting side may, however, delay the start of such rolling to not less than 10 minutes before the time scheduled or rescheduled for play to begin. 9.2. Clearing of debris from the pitch. 9.2.1. The pitch shall be cleared of any debris. 9.2.1.1. Before the start of each day's play. This shall be after the completion of mowing and before any rolling, not earlier than 30 minutes nor later than 10 minutes before the time or any rescheduled time for start of play. 9.2.1.2. Between innings. This shall precede rolling, if any is to take place. 9.2.1.3.
at all intervals for meals. 9.2.2. The clearance of debris in 9.2.1.1 shall be done by sweeping, except where the umpires consider that this may be detrimental to the surface of the pitch. In this case, the debris must be cleared from that area by hand, without sweeping. 9.2.3. In addition to 9.2.1, debris may be cleared from the pitch by hand without sweeping before mowing and whenever either umpire considers it necessary. 9.3. Mowing. 9.3.1. Responsibility for mowing. 9.3.1.1. All mowings which are carried out before the match shall be the sole responsibility of the ground authority. 9.3.1.2. All subsequent mowings shall be carried out under the supervision of the umpires. 9.3.2. The pitch and outfield. In order that throughout the match the ground conditions should be as nearly the same for both sides as possible, both the pitch and the outfield shall be mown on each day of the match on which play is expected to take place, if ground and weather permit. If, for reasons other than conditions of ground or weather, complete mowing of the outfield is not possible, the ground authority shall notify the captains and umpires of the procedure to be adopted for such mowing during the match. 9.3.3. Timing of mowing. 9.3.3.1. Mowing of the pitch on any day shall be completed not later than 30 minutes before the time scheduled or rescheduled for play to begin on that day, before any sweeping prior to rolling. If necessary, debris may be removed from the pitch before mowing by hand without sweeping. See 9.3.3. 9.3.3.2. Mowing of the outfield on any day shall be completed not later than 15 minutes before the time scheduled or rescheduled for play to begin on that day. 9.4. Watering the pitch. The pitch shall not be watered during the match. 9.5. Remarking creases. Creases shall be remarked whenever either umpire considers it necessary. 9.6. Maintenance of footholes. The umpires shall ensure that the holes made by the bowlers and batter are cleaned out and dried whenever necessary to facilitate play. In matches of more than 1 day's duration, the umpires shall allow, if necessary, the re-turfing of footholes made by the bowlers in their delivery strides or the use of quick-setting fillings for the same purpose. 9.7. Securing of footholds and maintenance of pitch. During play, umpires shall allow the players to secure their footholds by the use of sawdust, provided that no damage to the pitch is caused and that Law 41, unfair play, is not contravened. 9.8. Non-turf pitches. Wherever appropriate, the provisions set out in 9.1 to 9.7 shall apply.
Law 10. Covering the pitch. 10.1. Before the match. The use of covers before the match is the responsibility of the ground authority and may include full covering if required. However, the ground authority shall grant suitable facility to the captains to inspect the pitch before the nomination of their players, and to the umpires to discharge their duties as laid down in Laws 2, the umpires, 6, the pitch, 7, the creases, 8, the wickets, and 9, preparation and maintenance of the playing area. 10.2. During the match. Unless determined otherwise before the toss, on each night of the match, and in inclement weather at any time during the match. 10.2.1. The whole pitch and a minimum of 4 feet
1.22 meters beyond it at each end shall be covered. 10.2.2. The bowler's run-ups, where possible, shall be covered. 10.3. Removal of covers. 10.3.1. If after the toss the pitch is covered overnight, the covers shall be removed as soon as practicable on each day that play is expected to take place. 10.3.2. If covers are used during the day as protection from inclement weather, or if inclement weather delays the removal of overnight covers, they shall be removed promptly as soon as conditions allow.
Law 11. Intervals. 11.1. An interval. 11.1.1. The following shall be classed as intervals: the period between close of play on one day and the start of the next day's play, intervals between innings, intervals for meals, intervals for drinks, any other agreed interval. 11.1.2. Only these intervals shall be considered as scheduled breaks for the purposes of Law 24.2.6. 11.2. Duration of intervals. 11.2.1. An interval for lunch or tea shall be of the duration determined under Law 2.3, consulting with captains, taken from the call of play before the interval until the call of play on resumption after the interval. 11.2.2. An interval between innings shall be 10 minutes, commencing from the close of an innings until the call of play for the start of the next innings. See, however, 11.3, 11.5 and 11.6. 11.3. Allowance for interval between innings. In addition to the provisions of 11.5 and 11.6. 11.3.1. If an innings ends when 10 minutes or less remains before the time agreed for close of play on any day, there shall be no further play on that day. No change shall be made to the time for the start of play on the following day, on account of the 10-minute interval between innings. 11.3.2. If a captain declares an innings closed or forfeits an innings during an interruption in play of more than 10 minutes duration, provided that at least 10 minutes remains of the interruption when the captain declares the innings closed or forfeits an innings, the next innings shall commence 10 minutes after the declaration or forfeiture is made. 11.3.3. If a captain declares an innings closed or forfeits an innings during any interval other than an interval for drinks, provided that at least 10 minutes remains of the interval shall be of the agreed duration and shall be considered to include the 10-minute interval between innings. If less than 10 minutes remains when the captain declares the innings closed or forfeits an innings, the interval shall be extended as necessary, and the next innings shall commence 10 minutes after the declaration or forfeiture is made.
11.4. Changing agreed times of intervals. If at any time during the match either playing time is lost through adverse conditions of ground, weather or light, or in exceptional circumstances,
or the players have occasion to leave the field other than at a scheduled interval, the time of the lunch interval or of the tea interval may be changed if the two umpires and both captains so agree, providing the requirements of 11.2 and 11.5, 11.6, 11.7 and 11.8.3 are not contravened. 11.5. Changing agreed time for lunch interval. 11.5.1. If an innings ends when 10 minutes or less remains before the agreed time for lunch, the interval shall be taken immediately. It shall be of the agreed duration and shall be considered to include the 10-minute interval between innings. 11.5.2. If because of adverse conditions of ground, weather or light, or in exceptional circumstances, a stoppage occurs when 10 minutes or less remains before the agreed time for lunch, then whether or not agreement is reached in the circumstances of 11.4, the interval shall be taken immediately. It shall be of the agreed duration. Play shall resume at the end of this interval, or as soon after as conditions permit. 11.5.3. If the players have occasion to leave the field for any reason when more than 10 minutes remains before the agreed time for lunch, then, unless the umpires and captains together agree to alter it, lunch shall be taken at the agreed time. 11.6. Changing agreed time for tea interval. 11.6.1. If an innings ends when 30 minutes or less remains before the agreed time for tea, the interval shall be taken immediately. It shall be of the agreed duration and shall be considered to include the 10-minute interval between innings. 11.6.2. If when 30 minutes remains before the agreed time for tea, an interval between innings is already in progress, play shall resume at the end of the 10-minute interval, if conditions permit. 11.6.3. If because of adverse conditions of ground, weather or light, or in exceptional circumstances, a stoppage occurs when 30 minutes or less remains before the agreed time for tea, then unless either there is an agreement to change the time for tea as permitted in 11.4, or the captains agree to forego the tea interval as permitted in 11.9, the interval shall be taken immediately. The interval shall be of the agreed duration. Play shall resume at the end of this interval, or as soon after as conditions permit. 11.6.4. If a stoppage is already in progress when 30 minutes remains before the agreed time for tea, 11.4 shall apply. 11.7. Lunch or tea interval, 9 wickets down. For the lunch interval and for the tea interval, if either 9 wickets are already down when 3 minutes remains to the agreed time for the interval, or the 9th wicket falls within this 3 minutes, or at any time up to and including the final ball of the over in progress at the agreed time for the interval, then the provisions of Law 12.5.2 shall not apply, and the interval will not be taken until the end of the over that is in progress 30 minutes after the originally agreed time for the interval, unless the players have cause to leave the field of play or the innings is completed earlier. For the purposes of this section of law, the retirement of a batter is not to be considered equivalent to the fall of a wicket. 11.8. Intervals for drinks. 11.8.1. If on any day the umpires determine that there shall be intervals for drinks, the option to take such drinks shall be available to either side. Each interval shall be kept as short as possible, and in any case shall not exceed 5 minutes. 11.8.2. Unless, as permitted in 11.9, the captains forego it, a drinks interval shall be taken at the end of the over in progress when the agreed time is reached. However, if a wicket falls or a batter retires within 5 minutes of the agreed time, then drinks shall be taken immediately. No other variation in the timing of drinks intervals shall be permitted except as provided for in 11.8.3. 11.8.3. If an innings ends or the players have to leave the field for any other reason within 30 minutes of the agreed time for a drinks interval, the umpires and captains together may rearrange the timing of drinks intervals in that session. 11.8.4. Drinks intervals may not be taken during the last hour of the match, as defined in Law 12.6, last hour of match, number of overs. Subject to this limitation, the umpires shall determine the times for such intervals, if any, before the toss and on each subsequent day, not later than 10 minutes before play is scheduled to start. 11.9. Agreement to forego intervals. At any time during the match, the captains may agree to forego the tea interval or any of the drinks intervals. The umpires shall be informed of the decision. When play is in progress, the batter at the wicket may deputize for his captain in making an agreement to forego a drinks interval in that session. 11.10. Scorers to be informed. The umpires shall ensure that scorers are informed of all agreements about hours of play and intervals, and of any changes made thereto, as permitted under this law.
Law 13. Innings. 13.1. Number of innings. 13.1.1. A match shall be 1 or 2 innings for each side according to agreement reached before the match. 13.1.2. It may be agreed to limit any innings to a number of overs or to a period of time. If such an agreement is made, then 13.1.2.1. In a 1 innings match, a similar agreement shall apply to both innings. 13.1.2.2. In a 2 innings match, similar agreements shall apply to the first innings of each side, or to the second innings of each side, or to both innings of each side. For both 1 innings and 2 innings matches, the agreement must also include criteria for determining the result, when neither of Laws 16.1, a win 2 innings match, or 16.2, a win 1 innings match, applies. 13.2. Alternate innings. In a 2 innings match, each side shall take their innings alternately, except in the cases provided for in Law 14, the follow-on, or in Law 15.2, forfeiture of an innings. 13.3. Completed innings. A side's innings is to be considered as completed if any of the following applies. 13.3.1. The side is all out. 13.3.2. At the fall of a wicket or the retirement of a batter, further balls remain to be bowled, but no further batter is available to come in. 13.3.3. The captain declares the innings closed. 13.3.4. The captain forfeits the innings. 13.3.5. In the case of an agreement under 13.1.2,
Either the prescribed number of overs has been bowled or the prescribed time has expired, as appropriate. 13.4. The toss. The captains shall toss a coin on the field of play and in the presence of one or both of the umpires, not earlier than 30 minutes nor later than 15 minutes before the scheduled or any rescheduled time for the start of play. Note, however, the provisions of Law 1.3, Captain. 13.5. Decision to be notified. As soon as the toss is completed, the captain of the side winning the toss shall decide whether to bat or to field, and shall notify the opposing captain and the umpires of this decision. Once notified, the decision cannot be changed.
Law 14, the follow-on. 14.1, lead on first innings. 14.1.1, in a 2-innings match of 5 days or more, the side which bats first and leads by at least 200 runs shall have the option of requiring the other side to follow their innings. 14.1.2. The same option shall be available in 2-innings matches of shorter duration, with the minimum leads as follows: 150 runs in a 3- or 4-day match, 100 runs in a 2-day match, 75 runs in a 1-day match. 14.2. Notification. A captain shall notify the opposing captain and the umpires of his or her intention to take up this option. Once notified, the decision cannot be changed. 14.3. First day's play lost. If no play takes place on the first day of a match of more than 1 day's duration, 14.1 shall apply in accordance with the number of days remaining from the start of play. The day on which play first commences shall count as a whole day for this purpose, irrespective of the time at which play starts. Play will have taken place as soon as, after the call of play, the first over has started. See Law 17.2, Start of an Over.
Law 15, Declaration and Forfeiture. 15.1, Time of Declaration. The captain of the side batting may declare an innings closed when the ball is dead at any time during the innings. A declared innings shall be considered to be a completed innings. 15.2, Forfeiture of an innings. A captain may forfeit either of his or her side's innings at any time before the commencement of that innings. A forfeited innings shall be considered to be a completed innings. 15.3, Notification. A captain shall notify the opposing captain and the umpires of any decision to declare or to forfeit an innings. Once notified, the decision cannot be changed. Law 16, the result. 16.1, a win, 2-innings match. The side which has scored a total of runs in excess of that scored in the 2 completed innings of the opposing side shall win the match. See Law 13.3, Completed Innings. Note also 16.6. 16.2, a win, 1-innings match. The side which has scored in its 1 innings a total of runs in excess of that scored by the opposing side in its 1 completed innings shall win the match. See Law 13.3, Completed Innings. Note also 16.6. 16.3, Umpires awarding a match. Regardless of any agreement under Law 13.1.2, number of innings. 16.3.1, a match shall be lost by a side which,
16.3.1.1 concedes defeat, 16.3.1.2, in the opinion of the umpires, refuses to play. If so, the umpires shall award the match to the other side. 16.3.2. If an umpire considers that an action by any player or players might constitute a refusal by either side to play, then the umpires together shall ascertain the cause of the action. If they then decide together that this action does constitute a refusal to play by one side, they shall so inform the captain of that side. If the captain persists in the action, the umpires shall award the match in accordance with 16.3.1.1. See also Law 42.6.1, captain refusing to remove a player from the field. 16.3.3. If action as in 16.3.2 takes place after play has started and does not constitute a refusal to play, playing time shall be counted as lost from the call of time to the call of play, excluding intervals, Law 11, and suspensions of play, Law 2.8. The time for close of play on that day shall be extended by this length of time. If applicable, no overs shall be deducted during the last hour of the match solely on account of this time. 16.4. Matches in which there is an agreement under Law 13.1.2, number of innings. For any match in which there is an agreement under Law 13.1.2, number of innings, if the result is not determined in any of the ways stated in 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, or 16.4, then the result shall be as laid down in that agreement. 16.5. All other matches, a tie or draw. 16.5.1. A tie. The result of a match shall be a tie when all innings have been completed and the scores are equal. 16.5.2. A draw. The result of a match shall be a draw when it is not determined in any of the ways stated in 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, 16.4, 16.5.1, or when Law 42.6.2, captain refusing to remove a player from the field. 16.6. Winning hit or extras. 16.6.1. As soon as a result is reached as defined in 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, 16.4, or 16.5.1, the match is at an end. Nothing that happens thereafter, except as in Law 41.17.2, penalty runs, shall be regarded as part of it. Note also 16.9. 16.6.2. The side batting last will have scored enough runs to win the match only if its total of runs is sufficient without including any runs completed by the batter before the completion of a catch or the obstruction of a catch from which the striker could be dismissed. If a boundary is scored before the batter have completed sufficient runs to win the match, the whole of the boundary allowance shall be credited to the side's total, and in the case of a hit by the bat, to the striker's score.
16.7. Statement of result. If the side batting last wins the match without losing all its wickets, the result shall be stated as a win by the number of wickets still then to fall.
If, without having scored a total of runs in excess of the total scored by the opposing side, the innings of the side batting last has been completed, but as the result of an award of 5 penalty runs, its total of runs is then sufficient to win, the result shall be stated as a win to that side by penalty runs. If the side fielding last wins the match, the result shall be stated as a win by runs. If the match is decided by one side conceding defeat or refusing to play, the result shall be stated as match conceded or match awarded, as the case may be. 16.8. Correctness of result. Any decision as to the correctness of the scores shall be the responsibility of the umpires. See Law 2.15, Correctness of Scores. 16.9. Mistakes in scoring. If, after the players and umpires have left the field in the belief that the match has been concluded, the umpires discover that a mistake in scoring has occurred, which affects the result, then, subject to 16.10, they shall adopt the following procedure. 16.9.1. If, when the players leave the field, the side batting last has not completed its innings, and either the number of overs to be bowled in the last hour or in that innings has not been completed, or the agreed time for close of play or for the end of the innings has not been reached, then, unless one side concedes defeat, the umpires shall order play to resume. Unless a result is reached sooner, play will then continue, if conditions permit, until the prescribed number of overs has been completed, and either time for close of play has been reached, or the allotted time for the innings has expired, as appropriate. The number of overs and time remaining shall be taken as they were at the call of time for the supposed conclusion of the match. No account shall be taken of the time between that moment and the resumption of play. 16.9.2. If, at this call of time, the overs have been completed and no playing time remains, or if the side batting last has completed its innings, the umpires shall immediately inform both captains of the necessary corrections to the scores and to the result. 16.10. Result not to be changed. Once the umpires have agreed with the scorers the correctness of the scores at the conclusion of the match, see Laws 2.15, Correctness of Scores, and Laws 3.2, Correctness of Scores, the result can thereafter not be changed.
Law 17. The over. The over consists of 6 fair deliveries. Overs are bowled from each end alternately. No balls, wides, dead balls called prior to delivery do not count as a ball in the over. If an umpire miscounts the balls, then the number as counted shall stand. A bowler is not permitted to bowl 2 consecutive overs or part overs in the same innings. An over must be finished by a replacement if he cannot finish the over due to injury or suspension. Law 18. Scoring runs. The score is reckoned by runs. A run is scored A. each time the batsmen cross and make their ground at the opposite end while the ball is in play. B. When a boundary is scored. C. When penalty runs are awarded, no ball, wide, etc. D. When lost ball is called, lost on the field of play. There are provisions to disallow runs throughout the laws, the most used being disallowance of leg byes if no attempt to play the ball has been made. Short runs occur when a batsman fails to make good his ground at the opposite end and then completes further runs. Only one of the runs is to be disallowed unless he runs short more than once in the same run sequence.
umpires should watch the batter grounding the bat on turning for a further run. This generally stops the batsman running short because of being watched. It is not a common occurrence in most games. When a batsman is dismissed, any penalty runs are still scored, no balls, wides, etc. In some cases, runs scored are permitted, run out. Law 19. Boundaries. The boundary allowance is 4 runs for a ball reaching the boundary, not on the full, and 6 runs for a ball struck by the batter pitching over the boundary. Boundaries can be marked in a variety of ways: fence, flags, line, etc. The boundary is the bottom front edge of any line or fence. Make sure that the boundary, however marked, is agreed prior to the start of the match. If a fielder touches the boundary while in contact with the ball, then a boundary is scored: 6 runs if on the full, 4 runs if not on the full. Overthrows can happen. If the ball reaches the boundary from an overthrow, the boundary allowance is scored plus any runs competed, together with the run in progress, providing the batsmen have crossed on that run at the instant of the throw. Law 20. Dead ball. It is important to know when the ball is dead so that nothing untoward can subsequently occur. The following is a list of when the ball either is automatically dead or is to be called dead by the umpire.
Automatically dead. Finally settled with bowler or wicket-keeper. Umpiring for beginners. A boundary is scored. A batsman is dismissed. Becomes trapped between the bat and person of the striker or in items of his clothing, or lodges in clothing or equipment of a batsman or umpire. Lodges in a protective helmet worn by a fielder. The ball is illegally fielded or strikes the fielder's helmet placed on the ground. Penalty runs are awarded. Lost ball is called. Over or time is called. The ball is to be considered dead when it is clear to the umpire at the bowler's end that the fielders and batsmen have ceased to regard it as in play. To be called dead by either umpire. He intervenes in a case of unfair play. Serious injury to player or umpire occurs. He leaves his normal position for consultation. One or both bails fall from the striker's wicket before he has the opportunity to play the ball. If for an adequate reason the striker is not ready and does not play at the ball. The striker is distracted by noise or movement while preparing to receive a delivery. The bowler accidentally drops the ball before delivery. The ball does not leave the bowler's hand for any reason. There is a requirement to do so under any of the laws. The ball is not counted as one of the over if it has not been delivered. The ball ceases to be dead when the bowler starts his run-up, or if he has no run-up, his bowling action for the next delivery.
Law 21. No ball. There are several different reasons for a no ball being called: throwing the ball, illegal field placements, encroachment of fielders, dangerous bowling, etc. By far, the main area to focus on is the placement of the feet by the bowler for each delivery. This is the most common no-ball call. No ball, the feet. Back foot. The foot must be inside and not touching the inside edge of the return crease when it lands in the delivery stride. Front foot. Some part of the foot, grounded or raised, must be behind the back edge of the popping crease when it lands in the delivery stride. Mode of delivery.
The bowler must indicate through the umpire to the batsman his mode of delivery, i.e., right arm over the wicket. If he then changes without notification to you to notify the batsman, no ball is to be called. Underarm bowling is not permitted unless match regulations allow or there is prior agreement. The many other no-ball calls require a thorough knowledge of the laws and are invoked only occasionally. Out from a no-ball. There are only 4 ways of dismissal from a no-ball: run out, obstructing the field, handled the ball, hit the ball twice. Of these, run out is the most prevalent, the others rarely occur. Umpiring for beginners. The penalty run for the no-ball is scored regardless of what happens. A no-ball call overrides a wide call. The ball is not dead because no ball is called. A no ball does not count in the over, i.e., it is to be bowled again.
Law 22. Wide ball. A wide is adjudged if, in the umpire's opinion, the ball passes so wide of the striker that he is unable to hit it with a normal cricket stroke. The batsman cannot create a wide by moving away from the ball, making it appear to be too wide of him. Remain consistent with your judgment throughout the match. Don't change your parameters once the game has started. It is not a wide if the ball is hit by the striker or touches any part of his clothing or equipment. Wait for the ball to pass the striker's wicket before calling wide. Out from a wide ball. There are only 5 ways of dismissal from a wide ball: stumped, run out, obstructing the field, handled the ball, or hit wicket. The most common being stumped and run out, the others rarely occur. The penalty run for the wide is scored regardless of what else happens. The ball is not dead because wide is called. A wide does not count in the over, i.e., it is to be bowled again. Law 23. Bye and leg bye. Byes. If not a no ball or a wide, and the ball passes the striker without it touching the bat or person, then byes can be scored. Leg byes. If the ball has not touched the bat, then leg byes can be allowed, providing the batsman has made attempt to play the ball or tried to avoid being hit by the ball. Runs scored are leg byes unless no ball has been called, then they are scored as no balls. If the batsman has made no attempt to play the ball or avoid being hit by it, then leg byes are not allowed. Law 27. The wicket-keeper. The wicket-keeper is the only fielder permitted to wear protective pads externally and gloves. The wicket-keeper must remain behind the stumps until the striker has played or played at the ball, unless the ball hits the striker or the striker attempts to run. The wicket-keeper is allowed to wear a protective helmet. Law 28. The fielder. Fielders are not permitted to wear gloves or external leg guards. They are permitted to wear protective helmets. Protective helmets are to be worn or placed on the ground behind the wicket-keeper, fielders only. Batsmen must wear or carry their helmets. Umpiring for beginners. Law 31. Appeals. No decision should be given without an appeal. Either out, finger raised, or say not out. If the batsman decides to walk, let him do so, provided he is out under the laws. Law 32. Bowled. The batsman is out bowled if a ball, not being a no ball, strikes the wicket and removes the bails. Bowled takes precedence over any other form of dismissal, other than bowled.
A fair catch is taken when the fielder has complete control over the ball and his own movement. We recommend that the fielder should remain within the boundary to complete a catch, i.e., not touch the line, rope, or fence whilst in contact with the ball.
Law 35. Hit wicket. The striker can be out hit wicket if he puts his wicket down by his bat or person whilst playing at the ball, or when immediately taking off for the first run, whether he played at the ball or not. Law 36. Leg before wicket. The striker can be out leg before wicket if a ball, not being a no ball, strikes him on the person, not just the leg, and the ball was not pitched outside leg stump, the ball was not first touched the bat of the striker, the ball is definitely going on to hit the stumps. Only give a batsman out LBW if you are certain that the law is satisfied in full. It is much better to be hard on LBW rather than to give them easily. Generally, the further forward a striker is when struck by the ball, the less likely the ball will go on to hit the stumps, therefore not out. Law 38. Run out. Either batsman can be run out if he is out of his crease and the wicket is put down at his end. The batsman out will be the one closest to the wicket put down at the time it is put down. Any runs scored from that delivery prior to the run out are allowed, no ball, wide, or runs completed prior to the dismissal. Law 39. Stumped. The batsman can be out stumped, providing the ball is not a no ball, if out of his crease and the wicket is put down by the wicket-keeper without the intervention of another fielder. If the striker were attempting a run, then the decision would be run out and not stumped. The wicket-keeper must have the ball in his hands to complete a stumping. Law 41. Unfair play. This law is complex and covers numerous and specific matters of fair, unfair, or dangerous play. The umpire is the sole judge of what is fair, unfair, or dangerous. If you believe that something that occurs falls within your definition of what is unfair, etc., umpiring for beginners, then it is unfair, etc. The matters raised on the first page of this paper under the preamble and the general preliminary comment form the basis of application of what is fair, unfair, or dangerous.